Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Apex Racing League launched ARL GT Americas, our first American time zone GT3 championship. Over 6 rounds, drivers will compete in a mirror series to the popular ARL GT3 trophy, racing in a mixture of formats from 1 hour-long features to reverse grid sprints. We visit some of the most popular circuits in the sim, such as Spa, Watkins Glen and Suzuka, along with offering drivers a great opportunity to prepare for the Petit Le Mans with our opening round at Road Atlanta. Races starts on Saturdays at 21:10 Eastern Time, and any driver with a D-Class road license is welcome to register and fight for over $1,500 in prizes. Sign up at apexracingleague.com to confirm your place on the grid. See you on track.
Self-proclaimed world centre of racing, Daytona, well, it's been a fixture at the heart of the stock car racing calendar since the advent of NASCAR. Emerging from Bill France's dream to build something more permanent to replace the hard sands of Daytona Beach to become a multi-use oval and road course, catering to more than 100,000 fans. But it's not NASCAR or stock racing tonight. We'll see out on track in this course, round 4 of the ARL GT America series. I am Tim Cox. We've got John Robertson in the virtual production trailer, but as always, I'm joined by Charles Bushell. Charles. Watkins Glen, last time out, it got a little bit spicy, didn't it? And tonight, I've already watched some of the teams pushing one another along through the oval section. I get the feeling it's going to be a similar fare this evening.
Yeah, Tim, it was a bit spicy last week. Obviously, if you look at this on paper, I think the Porsche is probably the car to beat tonight. But I'm not going to jinx anybody, call any names. We did enough of that last week. We don't need to get any more bad publicity from the commentator's booth. But you know, everything about this track screams Porsche should be fast, except for turn 1, which is, you know, obviously the biggest trouble spot during this race. And so I'm looking forward to a good race. We're going to see if we get a lot of teamwork or if we just basically it's every man for himself tonight.
As I say, Teamwork makes the dream work, and tonight you've predicted the Porsche on pole. Watch a BMW clinch pole position, because that is the way the curse of the commentator works well and truly. I mean, plenty of overtaking opportunities around here. It's going to be interesting to see how the drivers play this. We've got qualifying just ongoing right now, and luckily for you, Charles, it is a Porsche on pole. What we can see right now on the screen is the 129 Russell Burton of Aerokinetics Pink. And let's just take a little look at those championship standings, because it's actually his teammates, Spencer Hewins and Lucas Martin, that are leading the way in the championship standings. To be fair, Spencer Hewins, the Canadian, he's got a big old lead of nearly 60 points, in fact, over his Brazilian teammates. And then makes up two more Brazilians of Delta Racing, Oliveira and Delgado taking up the fourth, with Torres in fifth. It's a bit close from that point onwards, with Tapio, Lewis, Smith being separated by 20 points. That's in the pro standings. Let's take a little look across into the other half of the draw, as it were, and into AM. And well, a bit of a theme. It's Aerokinetics at the top, but this time it's the purple outfit. Bruce Jackson leading the way. And he's got a 37-point advantage over his teammate Aaron Beaver. Clist had some strong results recently, had a great time out last week at Watkins. Now finds himself in third and 10 points clear of Moran, who had led the championship on one stage and was looking really good. Regenak, he's going to round out your top five, which will go to Groves. Vinicius, a bit disappointing from him where he stands in the championship, 8th at the moment. Vorson Parmalee rounding out your top 10. But, well, right now, I still see him on the screen. The Aerokinetics Russell Burton Porsche 129 still leading the way over. It's a BMW, Charles, 3 tenths behind Hugo Oliveira of Delta Racing. And from that point onwards, I tell you what, it usually shows with Burton what cracking lap he put in, because the rest of the field is quite tightly compact amongst the pros. It really was this lap that was head and shoulders above the rest.
Yeah, he had a really strong lap. And yeah, Oliveira's not really much of a surprise in P2. He's had a couple of good showings. He's had some bad luck during the course of the season, but otherwise he's generally been a pretty strong car. He's always ran up toward the front of the pack.
Interestingly, right behind him is his teammate Spencer Hewins on track at the moment. And I got a feeling he's given that perennial toe. Bit of teamwork, of course, open qualifying in this championship. So all the cars out on track. There you go. Look, moves out of the way, gives him the biggest slingshot right to the line. What is Hewins going to do? He had the best sector 3, and that is good enough for the front row of the grid. Can't quite beat his teammate. 1600s behind him, but Aerokinetics Pink at the moment, and Porsche locking out the front row. Not long left, 2.5 minutes in qualifying, and right now it's only looking like Oliveira and that BMW that's the only one who can really take the fight to them. Glover, you see him in the Audi there, he's leading the AM section of the championship as King Scott, just the Aussie, moving up into 7th in that Mercedes. But I tell you, Glover, he was another one who had a cracking round last time out. After Spa was okay, but nothing to write home about.
Yeah, he had a really good race last week. The Audi does really well if you've got a good setup under it that can handle the curbs at Watkins, and he seemed to do a really good job. And so yeah, obviously I don't know that the Audi is necessarily going to end up being the fastest car in the class by the time it's over, but obviously he knows how to drive it, and that's as important as anything else.
Well, if it's an Audi doing Audi things, Charles, I think we're going to find him in the wall at some stage, potentially. But I mean, like you say, he really knows how to drive that car, and I'm sure he'll be using the Tara power. There's that 5-litre V10 in the back of the car. Well, not truly the back. That's reserved for the Porsche. But I'm sure we're using all the horsepower available to him to catapult himself up. And really, I think as things stands at the moment, I think he's got a chance to try and take the fight to the pros. It will be close, but every chance for him to achieve that for definite. And just having a bit of a look up and down, Smith has just set the fastest sector 1 of anyone. Staropoli, he's just heading into the pits after setting the fastest sector 2 of anyone. Definitely some improvements out there. 30 seconds left in qualifying. And I tell you what, Smithy, it looks like he's on an improving lap right now. Sector 1, as mentioned, fastest of anyone. No improvement in 2, but then 3 and 4 goes faster again. And there's the guest commentator. Clearly not happy with his... What are we saying, Charles? Are we using the old name that everyone still calls it by, or its new official name, Le Mans Chicane?
I kind of like the Le Mans Chicane. I think the term bus stop will be thrown out at some point in time.
Oh, definitely.
Just because it's been that for so long. But yeah, obviously the Le Mans Chicane is its proper name, and that's what we should be using. And we'll see if we can make it work.
Wow. It's like Parabolica at Monza, the final turn. It'll always be Parabolica. Let's take you through your grid for this evening. Burton on pole with his teammate Hewins. Joining him on the front row, 2 Porsches leading the way. You predicted, Charles, you were spot on. Oliveira, the first non-Porsche, he is in the BMW for Delta Racing, and he is joined by Aerokinetics Purple, Zane Smith. Staropoli, he's got King Scott alongside him, and the highest of the Mercedes runners, the fellow, well, one of the 2 Mercedes right behind him. That is Lucas Martins. He's got fellow Brazilian Raul Delgado alongside him. On the 4th row of the grid, Vinicius rounds out a trio of Brazilians in. He's got top AM qualifier Baron Glover in the low. Sorry, I would say that earlier, right? Of course, there's Aaron Beaver as well. Mustn't forget that. That's good. Those 2 are going to round out your top 10 right now. Then it's Torres and Moran on the 6th row of the grid. And moving through, it is Dragota and Klist. They are on the 7th row. 8th row is Afzal and Jackson with Reginak and Beaver rounding out your 18-car grid here today from Daytona. As everyone just takes to the grid. Behind the Porsche 911 safety car, rolling start as always in GTs. And we get ready for, well, it's going to be 25 minutes tonight, followed by an additional 25 minutes. And I think that's definitely, yeah, rather than the straight hour-long race, because for the second race, the grid is formed out from the race results of race 1. However, the top 8 are inverted, so that will throw some conundrums for some of the drivers in race 2, but a different challenge for our drivers tonight, Charles.
Yeah, absolutely. I always like this format because that reverse grid at the front just brings so many different options in as far as strategy is concerned. Puts some drivers who were quick but not the fastest up in the front and gives them a chance to showcase their defensive driving ability. So yes. I'm really looking forward to that second race, but let's get through this first one first. And let's make sure everybody has a good, clean race. And obviously, you know, trouble spots are going to be turn 1, the Le Mans Chicane, and then to a smaller extent, the kink. It's a little more dangerous with multi-class, but it's still not the easiest place to navigate when you're doing side-by-side with GT3s.
Local time here at Daytona, 20 past 10. Nice cool track temperatures, 69 Fahrenheit, 20 Celsius. Pace cars in. Let's get ready to go racing for the first time this evening from Daytona in round 4 of the championship. And Burton getting, well, that was not coordinated from the 2 Aerokinetics pink cars, as Burton just cleared off and left Hewins for dead there, and almost left him a bit scrambling, because I tell you what, Smith and Oliveira were all over the back of him like a rash into turn 1 as they head round the International Horseshoe for the first time. There's a spinner. There's 2 spinners in the midfield there. There's an Audi above. Oh, that's Baron Glover, who was one of the top qualifiers in AM, and now work to do. He's down right back to dead last. The big winners out of that was Zane Asphalt. He's picked up 6 places As you've seen Oliveira there, and he's under, well, a bit of pressure, mounting pressure from no one the Porsches. You predicted Charles running strong, and I think he's going to lose that place because that is Staropoli heading through, getting on the switchback, and he's going to be on the inside for the Le Mans chicane. Said it correctly. So he come round the banking for the first time, but look who's looming large. It is that Mercedes right behind them, trying to find a bit of a groove right now, trying to observe the situation as there's a bit of argy-bargy on the entrance into Le Mans chicane. They're left, right, and then left again, trying to get the best possible exit and head out onto the banking. But Burton, well, already 3/10 clear, but that gap is shrinking thanks to the slipstream. You can see just how much Hewins is closing in, but the pair of them, well, there you go, working together and pulling away from Smith behind, Charles.
Yeah, they got a good start and a good advantage off the out of the first lap. As you know, Tim, we do the NASCAR series.
Oh, no.
Spin.
So, there is Lucas Martins going around in the Aerokinetics pink machine. Oh, that is not what he would have been hoping for there.
Yeah, that's turn one, and we'll see. Probably that won't be the last time we see somebody have a little spin going into turn one. As I was saying earlier, if you look at the, we do the NASCAR series on Sunday, and when we do the oval races, the big super speedway tracks, you can get a lead, but if you've got a little bit of help, you can kind of stretch that. But eventually, the field, if they're smart and they work together and stay in line, those two front cars will get tracked down very quickly. Probably not as quickly as if it was a true oval, but you will see these guys, if they just work together and stay in line, they'll track those front two cars down.
Well, I'm just watching the gaps right now on the timing tower. You can see them shrinking already between those top two where they are working together. But like you say, what are the pack behind going to do, namely Smith and Staropoli? They need to work together to close that gap, because otherwise Hewins and Burton will, well, they'll be running the risk of those two clearing off into the distance. So you see the two Porsches down the back straight away, and is this going to be a bit of a shape? No, sir. Coming out onto the try over there, got a bit mistaken there from my section of the banking. And Staropoli, fastest lap of the race. These two are moving on, and well, it's happening, Charles. You can see those gaps have shrunk right down, and I think Smith's gone around.
I think so. Sure
well,
did.
You called it. You said it wouldn't be the first time we saw it this evening. One lap on, carbon copy.
Yeah, and that's the car you would normally expect to do that. Turn one will be the Porsche. We've talked about this the whole season. Porsche doing Porsche things. Losing the rear end as you're trying to get off the gas and onto the brake. The rear end just wants to lift up, and you end up losing it, and turn one is notorious for that.
Let's take a little look at the replay. So you see Smith there ahead. Oh, he just got out wide,
I think
didn't he?
he took way too much speed in there.
I mean, normally you start to see him losing it a little bit earlier than what he did. So everyone have to scatter around and take evasive action to miss him. And Zane Smith has gone from, well, the chance at the podium, he's all the way back in 9th now. Not the start that he would have been hoping, but he needs to climb at least, well, one place ideally, get into 8th. Then he will be starting from pole in race 2. Of course, the top 8 are inverted. Right now, we've got 2 out in that top 8, but Torres, you see him push it all 3 wide into Le Mans, and somebody's got to yield, someone's got to give, and I'll tell you what, that Mercedes, Brezhinac losing out big time from around. Another of the big losers on the opening laps. Lone Ferrari in the field, well done. He's dropped 4 places so far into 16th as Delta Racing even. Working together, those 2 BMWs of Oliveira and Viniscus. They're together now since Viniscus is up 4 places in these opening few laps. There's already, that's 1/5 race distance in Heat 1 completed. Hewins leads from Burton, Staropoli, Oliveira, Viniscus in 5th, and also leading Am, King Scott 6th. There's Martins, Asphalt 8th, who's 2nd in Am. Smith and Dragota running out your top 10, and Dragota last on the podium in class right now. What can these BMWs do, Charles, to try and get up and ruffle the feathers of the Porsches ahead of them?
I think they just need to work together. I think you need to get your teammate and say, all right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to stay as close as we can, utilize the curbs in the infield to try and cut a corner here and a corner there, because the BMW can handle it. And then when we get on the straights, it's almost bump drafting. And just, I mean, nose to tail, as hard as we can go. That's really, the BMWs are strong. They've got a lot of power. They're fast, but I mean, the Porsche, I think we've talked about this, is just the class of the field in iRacing for this season. So it's just going to take a lot. It's going to take a lot of teamwork, even if it's not your teammate. Find a guy that runs about your pace and just push each other.
Seeing that on the bank right now, and they're joined by King Scott and the Mercedes. It's just in the rear of them. You'll just catch him in camera shot every so often as they come through the tri-oval across the start line. And
good lap by Burton.
Wow, look at that, 143.22 at this stage of the race. That is astounding pace from him. And I get a feeling as well right now that Oliveira is towing Vinicius along, because obviously Vinicius, the driver, and well up in the field, and just trying to get him as far away from Asphalt, who's actually picked up a place. He's now up into 7th from 8th. So he's running strong too. But yeah, just trying to tow him along and get him as far away from his fellow AM competitors as possible. That's what seems to be happening right now, and in doing so, like you say, maybe just a bit of pushing and getting Vinicius to push Oliveira along to close that gap to Staropoli, which is around about 3 seconds now. And actually, if anything, I think it might even be growing through that infield section.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Staropoli has really got that Porsche running well. Before the last lap that Burton had, I think Staropoli had the fastest lap of the race. And he's slowly chipping away at that gap. He's in draft range of the car in front, so it might be a 3-horse battle up at the front here before very long.
See the lights flickering. Let's take a little look back to the start and what happened down at the International Horseshoe. Look in the middle of the pack there. And oh, the Porsche just got into the side of Glover and the Audi. And that's what caused him to turn around. Of course, Moran there, you see, that's why he lost so many places in that Ferrari. Just where the road was blocked in front of him, he made it at the wrong time. As the push happens, Vinicius pushing Oliveira along right now. But oh, Staropoli's got past Burton for second. You said about it, Charles. You said he was catching him, and it was in draft range and clutching at a rapid rate. And Nazi he's got it done. As also down for the field, Beaver has managed to get past Kliss for 12. Jackson just past Dragota. That in the battle for 9th, and that's now sees Jackson onto the podium in AM.
Yeah, I thought Jackson would be. My thought was when we were looking at this, getting ready for this race to start, that the cream is starting to rise to the top in this series. So you're going to see the guys that have done well in the past. This is one of those tracks that just everybody runs in iRacing if you drive road courses. It's almost like a rite of passage to run an endurance race at Daytona. So I thought that Jackson would be pretty strong tonight, just because he's been strong all season. So it's not really much of a surprise to see him starting to work his way up the field. And I'm sure he'll look for that 8th of the reverse grid pole. That'd be a good place for him to get a little, maybe a little payback from last week. Maybe he can get back on the pole again for the second race and show what that BMW can do.
It's always fascinating to see how this one unfolds, but right now, our top 3, they're getting away from those BMWs of Oliveira and Vinicius from Delta Sports. And Burton, from being in the lead, now finds himself down in 3rd. I'm sure not quite where he would be hoping to be, and after that electric qualifying pace that he put in, seems to be struggling in these early stages of the pace. And you can't even say it's down to probably setup, because I imagine him running very similar, if not exactly the same as his teammates in front of him. And also, they're also in Porsche, so it's not like you've got the different cars being stronger at different parts of the track, which is what's contributed to it.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. Maybe he's just maybe he's not quite comfortable with the set. Maybe they are running. I'm assuming they're running similar sets, but I think each driver kind of tweaks it a little bit to his liking. But yeah, it just seems like he doesn't have quite the pace as those guys. But the toe is a great equalizer, right? So as long as he can stay back there, he should be okay. He should be able to hang with the guys, and maybe when the car gets a little lighter, burns a little fuel off, he might have something for him.
Maybe, I would say, is he trying to look after his tyres? But as mentioned earlier, cool track temperatures, 69 degrees Fahrenheit, that's 20 Celsius. So, surely, it doesn't really, especially with a 25-minute race, just doesn't worry about tyres. Surely he should be shredding them to pieces.
Absolutely. I think at this point, a 25-minute race, every lap's a quality lap. You're just driving as hard as you can go. And we'll put some new set on for the next race, but just use these up.
Let's see here. This is Delgado trying to make his way past Jackson. This is in the battle for 9th, and Delgado, well done. One of the pro drivers, really out of place in comparison to his teammates Oliveira and Vinicius. As that's going to be right around the outside, but I tell you what, Jackson's going to get a lovely toe from Asphalt. But Delgado, is he going to do the pair of them through the trioval? Oh, well, that's well.
Yeah. You kind of saw that one coming. I think that Afzal caught the grass as he was coming into the corner. And so basically he had to just check up, and there was just really nowhere to go for Delgado, sadly.
Well, he was fully committed, wasn't he? He was pushing it to the absolute max, trying to run right around the outside. Let's take a little look at the replay. We look down from the helicopter here, and you can see he's running in deep. And
he's just. I don't think he caught the grass, but I think he was not at the great angle. Right, very shallow entry. And if you're going to run shallow on the entry, then you kind of want the car to run a little wide through the middle of the corner to kind of bleed a little more speed off before you can, complete the corner. And it's so tricky in turn one, and just really you have to maintain a line, especially if you're side by side, or this is going to happen. So it's unfortunate because both those cars looked like they were running pretty well up to their pace, and but those things kind of happen.
But Delgado, Assad just seemed to collect it, but then Delgado, where he turned in and maybe hadn't spotted him losing it, that it just seems like then he collected him, and it was game over for the pair of them there.
Yeah.
And nowhere to go. But make one about that. It was Jackson, because he picked up a couple of freebies there, now up into 8th and running really strongly, 2nd in class in the BMWs. BMW running a lot stronger in AM, occupying the top 3 spots right now, whereas in Pro, and thus overall, is Porsche filling out the podium. Two completely and utterly contrasting set of scenarios, although largely, obviously, the AMs, we don't actually have with this tonight anyway, an AM Porsche driver anyway, so I think that was always going to be the case, whereas predominantly locked out by Porsches.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I think the BMW is just a little bit easier car to drive, so I think it's a little bit easier for AM to jump in. It's kind of like we talked about with a Ferrari. It's the first car that most of the GT drivers drive because it's a D-class. There's a D-class race involved with it. So you get kind of familiar with it and you get comfortable with how it drives. And I think it's the same thing with the BMW. I think it's just an easy car to drive. I was actually driving a little bit myself today, and, quite quick, but very stable platform. So obviously not quite the speed that the Porsche has, but like I said, the Porsche, will do things that the Porsche wants to do. And in Am's hands, it's probably not the most comfortable feeling in the world.
Oh, Vinicius, as much as he was trying to help his teammate there and act as the rear gunner, could end up losing a place to King Scott, who slotted it up the inside beautifully in that Mercedes. Using the Tower of Power and that grumbling V8, and he is ahead as they enter into the International Horseshoe. And King Scott, well, you've got to wonder how quickly he's going to pick off Oliveira, who almost seemed to be like he was holding back a bit to help tow his teammate along. But now he finds himself potentially at threat of losing a place himself. I do wonder if he's going to put pedal to the metal and he'll end up dropping Vinicius, who will fall off the back of this scrap, Charles. I'm just feeling.
It's very possible. It just depends on what the plan is for the team. If they are actually doing team stuff, he may try and hold up King Scott a bit and allow Vinicius to kind of climb back on the back of him, or he may just let him go, or he may just battle him. And so we kind of have to wait and see on this one to see what the game plan is.
We don't have long to find out, to be fair. We have got 8 minutes of racing in race 1. Well, that's all there is left, and top 3. They've cleared off, they've checked out. Gap now 7 seconds to those cars that we're seeing fighting there. There's your leader, Hewin, Healy, Staropoli, and Burton. The driver who qualified on pole, now in 3rd. And he's closing in a bit. Going to be interesting to see how these 3, well, if they start fighting, or do they remain in line in the closing stages of the race? Oliveira, King Scott, Vinicius taking up 6th, well, obviously Vinicius lead it in Martin 7th, Jackson picked up a couple of freebies, but he'll take them with both hands. He's 8th overall and 2nd in class right now, with Smith 9th. Oh, Smith has got past Jackson there. And Dakota running at the top 10 and the podium in right now. And then we've got the 2 Audis, Glover and Beaver. I tell you what, that's a great recovery from Glover, who lost all those places at the start and had to come back through the field after being pretty much dead last. That's a great recovery to get that car all the way up into 8th. I mean, you were saying earlier during qualifying, Charles, he seems to be really dialed in with that car and setting it up, and he's showing it yet again here tonight.
Yeah, and he's got cars in front of him he can tow off of, so there's potential for him to pick up a couple more spots before this race is over. I know we only have about 6.5 minutes left, but that's plenty of time when you're only a second or so behind.
Well, for those viewers who tuned in and watched the F3 earlier on Apex Racing TV, we saw that happen. A mistake on the final lap allowed a driver to sneak through into the final. That's it. Obviously, they run heat formats in that, and well, it just shows anything can happen, and that's why you need to keep trying right all the way up until the check-in, because you never quite know what's going to happen. As King Scott on the outside of Oliveira, around the tri-oval we go. And who is going to be the last night breakers? Can that Mercedes do it the long way around? And he's looking like it. He keeps it pinned in there. He's still side by side, but he knows that'll give him the inside into the International Horseshoe. And this is the change for 4th, surely. And King Scott, at the hands of that Mercedes, is ahead and leaving Oliveira for dust already.
That was really well done. He just stayed in it and rode around the outside until the track flipped and became an advantage for him, and absolutely took advantage of it.
It looked like he was almost like skirting around just desperately on the limits of adhesion, trying to hold that car in there, and managed to do it successfully. And like you say, just opened up, gave him the inside into the International Horseshoe. Job done. I would say try and get after the top 3, but I mean, it's going to take something, well, biblical. It needs to take 2 seconds, pretty much a lap out of the guys ahead of him. Well, possibly even 3 or 4, but looking at the clock actually, and well, without any disrespect to Jamie King Scott, that is not going to happen, and that's why you should not heap praise onto a driver for them doing incredibly well, because that is the curse of the commentator. They end up spinning. Baron Glover, after a great recovery, just maybe push that bit too hard, Charles?
Yep, he just looked like he was just trying to get back on it, and that's another one of those tricky corners as you're because it's, I don't know, I can't figure out why that corner is so bad, but it is. It's just it's almost, you know, inch perfect. There's a certain line you have to run through there. There's a certain speed you have to run through there. And if you deviate from that, it doesn't matter what car you're in, you're just going to loop it. So,
I've done it many a times in an LP2. Lost it there, and that's got far more downforce than these GT3s. And there's a nasty bump, isn't there, on the inside, which if you just catch it a little bit wrong, it just ends up spinning the car around, and it's a bit of a knife edge. That's Jackson. Well, that looks like him getting past. Yeah, it's Dakota to claim the 9th place. Zane Smith, he's quietly been going about his business. He's managed to get ahead of these guys. He was sort of languishing down in 10th, but after running at the front, and he was actually on for a chance at the podium here. But far back down through the order after a spin into turn 1. He has got past Jackson and Dragota, and of course, as we mentioned earlier, the grid for race 2 will be formed for the results of race 1. However, the top 8 will be inverted, and that is a crucial move there for Zane Smith, because it's now in that all-important 8th place as the top 3.
I think things have tightened up a bit.
I think they have as well. You can throw the proverbial blanket over these 3 right now. Who's going to make the first move? Well, as they come across the line, the white flag's going to be in the air. 1 lap left remaining here at Daytona in race 1 of this night. We're on board with Russell Burton, and that was nearly him swapping ends. I tell you, it looks very graceful from the outside, but you get on board and you can see he's fighting, he's wrestling, he's wrangling that car all the way around turn 1. You can see just how hard Staropoli in front's pushing as well.
Yeah, it's. I was kind of watching it as we were talking about some of the guys in the back fighting for positions. You know, this was a second gap, a 1 second gap between P1 and P2, another half second behind the P3, and you know the next we flip back around and there's, you know, a 10th between each car. So I don't know if this is the last lap or is there one more?
Well, I'm not starting to doubt. I think I've I think it might be one more lap as well. Actually, now I think I've miscalculated this, haven't I? Yes, I have. I've got a bit too excited.
That's okay. That's okay. It's just, I mean, it's a tight race in front. We should be excited about this. Well, I'm just kind of wondering. I want to see where Staropoli is when they get to the start-finish line this lap. The gap's about 3/10. I just want to see. He's obviously going to get a big run down the straight. So I think he's probably just kind of measuring things this lap to see where he's got to be for the last lap. Because obviously I don't think you want to make the move now. I think you want to wait till the final lap before you try and make that pass.
Ewan's a sitting duck then, would you say? I mean, but you see with Burton, he was about 1.1 seconds behind Staropoli. He's really nailing the bus stop right now. For me, Burton is the strongest of these 3. Through the, I see, there you go, I've reverted kind without thinking about it, called it the bus stop, not the Le Mans chicane. But that's why he seems to be the strongest of these 3, is through there, and he's able to take big chunks out of them. And I think maybe a little bit of just sizing everyone up in front of him, as that's Zane Smith past Martins. That's for 7th place. As he stands at the moment, those 2 will be starting from the front row of the grid with Martins on pole, of course the top 8 inverted. But it's all about this battle for the lead, 7 tenths. And I tell you what, they're closer than where they were this time last lap.
Yeah, and so I'm waiting for we get to the Le Mans chicane. I'm wanting to see that gap. If that gap is 2/10 between P1 and 2, I think Staropoli can get them. But you know, obviously, Hewins may have to do some defensive magic in order to keep the cars behind. But he's starting to make that gains coming down the back stretch, closing that gap down, and even P3 is closing the gap down. So this may be a 3-wide battle by the time we get to the start-finish line.
Here we go. into the Le Mans chicane for the final time in race one, and look how much Burton's closing up there. He's all over the back of Staropoli. This is the Slipstream Fest all the way to the line. Who's going to take the win? Well, Hewins is looking clear. Burton dips out. He dips back in again. Is he going to go once more? But he's running out of time, and I think Hewins is going to take this, or is he? Because Staropoli making the late charge. Burton goes up high, but it's not good enough.
Wow.
And 2 attempts covers our top 3. Hewins gets it from Staropoli. Burton in 3rd.
Yeah, I think obviously Burton got a great run out of the bus stop. I don't think Staropoli's was that great. Maybe he just cooked it a little too hard going in there. And I said bus stop in too. Yep,
that's Martin's back past Smith. So do you think that was almost a bit of a tactical one then from Martins? Let Smith head into turn 1, knowing if you can stay close enough. I mean, worst comes to worst, he's going to be starting from pole on the second, for the second race. But on the flip side of that, it now means that he got him, didn't he? It looks like if it was calculated, it worked absolutely beautifully. If it was just one of those things, well, either way, it still worked. Vinicius takes the victory in AM. He's 6th overall. Jackson, 9th. 2nd in AM. And Dragota rounding out that AM podium. As Glover, yet again, making another recovery drive, getting all the way back up to 13th. That man's been like a yo-yo, up and down, but definitely making some real shape. So that's Brezhnek across the line, last driver across. Get her across into race 2. Turning into a quick bit of a warm-up session in between. And here are your race 1 results. Well, as we saw it, that race to the line between our top 3. Well, they remained as they were in the end. Hewins took it. Staropoli, Burton in 3rd. Aerokinetics looking at the podium, and likewise Porsche 2. King Scott, well, he had a quiet drive, but made up a lot of progress. A really strong drive from him. He finished 4th in the Mercedes, and then it was the 2 Delta Racing drivers of Oliveira 5th, Vinicius in 6th, and we win it in Martins. Retaking the place from Zane Smith, who at the start of the final lap had claimed 7th from Martins, but that run to the line much stronger from Martins. He finishes 7th and Zane 8th. And of course, those top 8, they're going to be reversed. So Smith will start from the front. Hewins will start down in 8th. Obviously, everyone's shuffling around accordingly in between. Jackson, 2nd in AM, 9th overall. And Dragota running at the top 10. And also that AM podium. Aaron Beaver. Well, both the Audis, in fact, himself and Glover had an interesting race, to say the least. 11th for Beaver, Moran in the low Ferrari, he was 12th, and Glover in the other Audi, finishing 13th. Clist, 14th after, well, maybe a bit of a disappointing result after a strong running last time out at the Glen. Asphalt, 15th. Brezhnek, last driver to finish on the lead lap. Torres, he's 3 laps down, and Delgado, well, we saw that incident that he had with Afsval. He decided to retire the car, thus meaning he finished 7 laps down. Charles, do you think I'll be right in saying ding ding round 2 for race 2?
Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch those 3 Porsches that finished so close at the end of the race work their way through the pack. And started this. Obviously, there's lots of good passing areas at this track. However, there's also places that you can get in trouble. As we saw at the beginning of race 1, you make that dive down into turn 4 into the horseshoe. If you don't do it right, if somebody is not paying attention and closes you off after you're half car length in, somebody's going around. So there's trouble spots here. But there is a lot of room to pass, especially once you get on the NASCAR section. Those Porsches, obviously, if you put they were fast, out front. You put 5 cars in front of them now that they can draft off of, and we may see some really quick laps at the beginning of the second race.
Well, interesting you're saying there about it being easy to pass. Plenty of passing places around here. Don't tell Sam Fitzpatrick that. Myself and him had a massive argument over that one. I claimed exactly the same train of thought as you. Those are overtaking opportunities. He said, no, it's a rubbish track, and yeah. Not exciting, not much passing.
I'm still mad at Sam for that, to be fair.
I don't mind. I am as well. I bring it up every time I see him. It is great Daytona. Plenty of lines, plenty of action, plenty of fun. But let's take a look through the grid for race 2. As we mentioned, the top 8 being inverted from race 1. That means Smith, he starts from pole with Lucas Martins alongside him on the front row of the grid. And then it is Vinicius and Oliveira, 3 Brazilians in the top 4. With King Scott, can he work a bit of magic, come through the field again? Not long to find out at all. Russell Burton starts alongside him on the third row of the grid. Then it is our top 2, Staropoli and Hewins. They start on the 4th row of the grid. As Charles said, they work with Burton to come through the field to claim a 2nd podium this evening. Not long to find out. Bruce Jackson and Gota running out your top 10, 5th row of the grid. And then it is Beaver and Moran on the 6th row. And the 7th row for me from Glover and Klist. Afsel and Berezhinak, they on the 8th row. The 9th row being Torres and Delgado. 2 pros. Work is out for them if they want to try and come for the field, surely, Charles. I mean, it's coming through from 8th, but coming through from 17th and 18th, that's a tall order.
It is, and it is basically going to be how clean is the first lap. If everybody keeps it clean, shuffles themselves out, gets in a good line, that's going to make life easy for those guys in the back to work their way up because they can draft off everybody as they come. Obviously, we've seen during the season Delgado and Torres both have had some good pace in those cars. So it's just a matter of if you get those spin like you had in race 1, then you've got a big gap that you have to work through.
Well, not long to find out as pace cars in. We are green from Daytona International Speedway. Once again, race 2 is away. I tell you what, Zane Smith, he's not hanging around this time. He is through. That's Burton. I saw him just dart right round the outside. That's 2 places. He's already up into 4th as all. You said how clean could the opening lap be. Oh, it's Glover caught up again. As
man.
Wow, I'm not sure how that Ferrari. I suddenly saw him jump to the top of the sheet as he gets back out across the track and rejoins that one. But tell you what, it's tight in the midfield. Dow's racing there, under attack, and a big lunge up the inside, and they're being attacked left, right, centre. But especially Vinicius right now being absolutely swarmed by Porsches and the Mercedes of King Scott, and he's down 3 places, and likewise King Scott not being the best of start, he's dropped a couple as well. Staropoli already up 2 places into 5th, but Burton, he's in the podium places already. He's already back up to where, well, he finished up pretty much last race. He's up into 3rd right now, up 3. A great opening lap, and it's not even finished yet.
No, if he can get out and get a lead on the rest of those cars, if they get kind of mired in the mid-pack, it's going to be tough for them to catch him.
Well, I tell you what, it definitely is. Hewins has only managed to climb 1 place there. He is right now 7th overall. Look at this. It's tasty up at the front.
I think Burton will slow down maybe.
It's got to be. I was going to say, he's dropping through the order like a stone after that great first lap. It's all fell apart from him. I was only saying last race how good into the bus stop he was. And I'll tell you what, that Porsche there of Staropoli getting incredibly close to the rear of Oliveira, just about managing to avoid him, but Smith still holding on the front. Martins, well, that looked like he was giving a bit of a... Well, he just helped him steer around the corner there, Charles. You know, give him a bit more, turning on exit. But Staropoli making life incredibly uncomfortable for Oliveira, and surely this has got to be the pass here. Yeah, through he goes. Oh no, he's around.
Yep, Porsche doing Porsche things. I think it just broke way too late and lost the rear end of the car.
And now he's all the way down to 15 for 10 seconds off the lead after standing a chance of being back on the podium for race 2. It's going to be incredibly hard to have a repeat of the podium from race 1. Let's take a look back up to the start. Down to turn 1. There's Glover in the Audi. Did he get a nudge from behind? Or, oh, wow. That was tight.
Yeah, you've got to be cautious going in turn 1 on first lap. Cold tires, everybody seemingly slower than you because especially if you're in the back, you're getting that good toe off everybody in front, and you just feel like Superman there, and then you figure out that you can't fly.
That's a beautiful analogy. As we're just seeing the Mercedes there, King Scott trying to make a bit of progress against Vinicius. I don't know, Spencer Hewins, he's been quiet, but he's made a 5 places. Oh, they're going 3 wide into turn 1, and are they going to make it through? Yes, they are. How did they get through? Turn 1 in one piece after going 3 wide, and I tell you what, some of them looked like they were running it in a bit too deep too, Charles.
I think I saw contact between between the Porsche in the front and then the BMW Oliveira. It looked like the Porsche broke a bit earlier, and I think Oliveira may have tapped him, but they managed to get through there, so that's the important thing. So everybody's still racing.
Exactly, that's what we like to see it. That's Hewins leading this group in that Porsche, and then we've got Burton, Oliveira, King Scott, and Vinicius running out that little group there. Smith pulling out sometimes on the infield over Martins. Porsche versus Mercedes at the front end. Smith is 7 tenths ahead of Martins right now, and then they've got 1.9 seconds back to Hewins, but Hewins is coming, and he is coming fast and hard right now.
And he's got help behind him.
Well, he has. That's the crucial part, because Burton is going to help push him and shove him to close that gap up to Martins.
Yeah, I think I'm looking at the field, and everybody down to about Delgado are pretty much, I mean, they're not nose to tail, but they're not any real huge gaps. So everybody should be getting a little bit of slipstream off of everybody else, which is just going to make this tighten back up, assuming there are no more incidents. But Smith out front with a 43.6, fastest lap of the race. That's pretty spicy.
But look, I see Hewins was only about 100th of a second slower than Smith, so matching him for race pace right now. So at least the gap is maintaining, but the trouble is, in equal terms, Charles, it's not closing either. That's the sort of pace that Smith is laying down right now, and he's really trying to lay down the law as he's just set the best Sector 1 under racing conditions of anyone so far in race 2, as we're 5 minutes out of the 30 complete.
Yeah, it's still early. Obviously, we've still got 24 minutes left in the race. And based on what I saw with Hewins, Burton earlier, I think these guys can make their way back up to the front. But like you said, Smith is matching everybody on the track right now, and has actually got some belt behind him too. So I think if Martins can close up the gap a little bit, they can kind of stay out there. Here comes Moran, I think is the replay we're looking at.
This is it, so he made it through. Was that
curb? He got the curb on the outside of that chicane, which is 2 and 3, and just lost the car.
Because of that, he has retired it, unfortunately. We see this. They might be GT3s rather than NASCAR, but it doesn't stop them bump drafting like this is NASCAR does it through the oval section, and in doing so, that's Burton, new fastest lap of the race. These two, Hewins and Burton, were 2 tenths quicker than our leader, Smith. As I said, that gap is shrinking, as I'm sure Oliveira has just lost a couple of places there somewhere. For some reason, see if we can. Oh, yeah, he's well behind as well. So he was ahead of King Scott and Vinicius.
Yeah, I think I was watching King Scott, and he were bump drafting. Oliveira was in the lead, and I think he just went really wide and won. I think King Scott was able to get us to his inside, and maybe Vinicius came with him.
point, really. I tell you what, well, Vinicius now ahead of King Scott. Let's take a look. Well, yeah, you go. You saw that bump drafting you mentioned. Is this going to be too much speed in, or is he going to get a bit of a love tap and assist? Oh, he did. He could have tapped.
That's right. Ooh.
And he's hit that wall, Charles, on the left side of his car.
Yeah. It's a 50-50 chance whether or not he's got that left front wheel damage, which obviously, you know, in a 30-minute race, if you have to come in and take that fast repair, then you're pretty much race done.
Well, I'm trying to see if he's got any aero damage as well. Oh, that's surely going to be a slowdown. That was a big old cut there on the entry into the bus stop.
Yeah, he's moved up the track to try and serve that slowdown. Definitely got damage.
Yeah. There's been a big shot. That's Staropoli on the exit, and I tell you what, I'm sure Oliveira was caught up in it too. Well, that's Delgado. It was, sorry, the assisted Delta Sport car. Sorry, Delta's racing car. It's Oliveira into the pit to take a fast repair. I was about to ask Charles, you know, just how much damage. That looks like that's got more damage than it had previously. I don't know about you.
I think it does too. I think you're right. I think it didn't look like it's that bad earlier. We see Staropoli coming through the bus stop.
You see, it comes in fine. Oh, spits him out on the outside.
And
wow.
Oh,
there you go. And that's how that Delta. That's what confused me, because it was the Delta racing car coming from. Obviously, you know, you see it recovered after an incident. That was Oliveira, and he just lost it, just trying to take evasive action to get around Staropoli.
Yeah, I think that was just, you know, I don't think that car was just handling well to begin with, and then him having to make a sudden move to try and dodge Staropoli after he lost it coming out of there, just, you know, took him back into the wall to add insult to injury.
Definitely some insult to injury there, wasn't it? And, well, 1/3 race distance completed. Smith leads from Martin. Hewins in third. Burton fourth. Then top Pro-Am driver is Vinicius in the BMW. He's currently in fifth with King Scott closing that gap on him. Needs to have form, obviously, from the previous race. Jackson, 7th, second in Jagota, 8th. Last in the podium place is third in then it's Torres and Clist are going to round out your top 10. We've hardly mentioned Torres. Well, certainly in race 1, definitely in race 2. And he suddenly just picked up 8 places and he's in 9th. I'm not too sure how he's managed that one, because he's been doing quietly, going about his business off camera. I mean, it's Fernando Torres.
I think it's called keeping the nose clean and staying out of trouble. I think that's actually helped him out quite a bit during this race. He maybe might not have the fastest car on the track, but he's obviously running well enough to pick up some spots as other people run into issues.
Well, he's opportunistic as always, Fernando Torres, and not much less than today. 8 places already into 9th. Great drive from him after starting the back row of the grid. Hold on, there's got to have been a mistake there from Martins, because he's just all of a sudden been eaten up and he's getting bullied by the Porsches of Hewins and Burton right now. They are really ganging up on him.
Yeah, I think that may just be the fact that he was a Mercedes in a field of Porsches. I'm not sure. He may have made a mistake, but I think he was losing Smith, and I think these two guys, I think Hewins and Burton have just been glued together for the last few laps to try and make up that gap. And I don't think they're done yet. I think they're still going to keep working. The gap's now 2.3 from Hewins to Smith. Lap times are still pretty close to the same.
Well, it's going to be a mistake from Martins. Look, he did a 1:45.1, whereas the cars in front of him were doing mid 140. Well, low 144s, high 43. So he's lost a good second there, because he was, you know, within touching distance of Smith, just maybe losing him a little bit. But there you go. Graphics showing Martins 1.3 seconds slower than Burton last time around. He's got to have had a mistake somewhere.
Yeah, maybe he got the slowdown at the Le Mans chicane also. So
That
happens, you know. Yeah, I mean, you know, that happens quite frequently. I'm really good at it. You know, there's only so much you can cut a few inches here and there, but it can get you when you least expect it.
Well, you're in a club of two there, Charles. I'm a bit of a seasoned pro at picking up the slowdown there as well. That's the only thing I am pro at. And Burton onto the back of Hewins. Hewins beat him last time out. Of course, Burton put it on pole in qualifying. But is the button drafting happening? I think it is. I think these two are still trying to get after Smith ahead of them.
Yeah, I think so. I think they know that if they can just stay together like this, that they can make that ground up on the leader. And then that puts them back into play to get the win themselves.
Shrinking is the gap. So, like, as they came across the line, well, actually, they went slower, oddly, despite pushing and shoving each other along. Sorry, the Smith went slow. No, apologies, I'm reading that the wrong way around there. Not enough caffeine for this time of the morning for myself. As due to British Summer Time losing an hour, so it's only 2 o'clock. Should be 3 o'clock for me, but don't worry. I know you've got that to enjoy next weekend, haven't you, Charles?
Oh yeah, I get the. Oh, see, Afsel back in like turn 1 again.
I saw another car involved there. Oh, was that Delgado? Or was it Oliver? I think. Let's have a look at what's happened. So there's Clist. Asphalt behind him. Oh, he's lost the rear. Once again, it's...
Yeah.
We saw him do that previously. Clist, all on his own, turned in. So,
yeah,
was it?
I think Clist was just... It looked like Clist was just taking it easy, trying to get into turn 1. Maybe not necessarily as confident. Afsel obviously feels like he can hammer the brakes down into turn 1 and just keep it at the edge of control. Because we have seen him get a little loose as it is going down in there. So, and yeah, it just, you know, side by side, you don't expect the guy to be there, and then you turn in, and the next thing you know, you're facing the other direction or in the wall.
Like yourself, I'm sure, Charles. Another thing I'm a bit of a pro at is finding the walls. And thank goodness these are virtual racing cars, because otherwise I think I would have bankrupted myself numerous times over the amount of damage I caused to cars. But 16 minutes out of 30, so just over half race distance complete here from Daytona International Speedway. Race 2 of round 4 of the ARL GT Americas Championship. Smith leading from race 1 winner. Hewins currently in second, but that gap is... yeah, that is shrinking, isn't it? Look at it, down to 1.5 seconds right now. Burton coming along with Hewins right now into third. Martin's fourth after losing that time and then allowing the Porsches through him after he got downright bullied by them. And dropping off the back of them since then. Vinicius, another strong outing from the Brazilian of Delta Racing, currently 5th overall right now. Leader in AM in that BMW. King Scott was stronger race 2 as he had in race 1. He's 6th with Jackson, 7th overall, 2nd in AM. Torres, we mentioned, slowly climbing through the field. He's now up in the club on 9 places into 8th. Jagota, 9th, and running out your podium in AM. Glover, much better for himself, and Beaver, they are 10th and 11th respectively. Staropoli, well, he's been in the wars, hasn't he? Finds himself down in 12th after that early incident, but he had to wait for the whole field to come through. That's what's cost him dearly here in race 2. Afsal 13th, Delgado 14th with Oliveira's teammate in 15th, Clist 16th, Brezhnak 17th and ran after that lap 1 incident. Decided to retire the car.
Yeah, I think Vinicius has done a really good job of just kind of avoiding all the drama tonight. I think he started about in P5 in this race or somewhere in that neighborhood, and just managed to just avoid all the chaos of fast cars trying to come through, and is obviously he's in a good position to get this win in the second race for his class.
So George starts making trouble in his neighborhood.
Maybe,
Smith drifting it. I was going to make an incredibly bad pun around the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air lyrics and about, his mum getting, been getting in trouble and, moving to Bel-Air. That moment's gone. I'll tell you what, Smith's slide out of that was far more impressive in the way how that caught it. Because that looked like it could have been race ending, but it shows how much he's pushing. He has lost a couple of attempts of it to Hewins because of it. Charles, did that look a bit close to the wind there on the exit and across the grass? I don't know whether it's out of camera angle. Could just be me. He hasn't, well, he's certainly not slowing up the pace whatsoever. So much so that Burton, once again, pushing Hewins along as these two endeavour to try and catch up to Smith, who's really just been ploughing his own furrow right out in front of the pack from basically the start of the race.
Yeah, I mean, they're doing exactly what they need to do, is just staying nose to tail, maximizing their pace on the oval. Obviously, we saw Smith is just as hard as he can absolutely drive that car, especially sideways coming out of turn 6, trying to get it turned to get back up on the oval. So yeah, it's and they're clicking them off a tenth, 2 or 10ths a lap, and it's about to be a shootout here really quickly.
Joe, I was worried there. I thought I got the turn number wrong, but we're technically both right because it's classified as a double left-hander, so 6 and 7 rather than just being one corner number. So 6 is that first part. There's the hit the banking here. Now that's classified as turn 7. So you called it 6 and I called it 7. Technically, we're not wrong because he started in 6 and did it through 7 onto the exit. So there we go. Jobs are good, but look, I tell you what, look at the pace that Hewins and Burton have got because they've taken a big old chunk out of Smith on this lap alone.
Yeah, and he's got the slipstream now, so they're going to be closing this down really quickly. They may be 3 nose to tail by the time we get back to the start-finish line. And we might even see another purple lap out of Hewins this lap if he gets a really good run through here. If he gets a good tow from Smith.
Well, in sector 1, he did set the fastest time of anyone, so I think you could be on for a good shout there, Charles. Let's find out when they cross the line. We'll get some lap times in and be able to see. But you predicted it, and you're absolutely smack on there, Charles. Look at that. This is lap of the race for you. It's almost like you know what you're on about.
I mean, I've watched enough of these. I've wrecked in every corner of this track. I mean, so...
no, like the back of your hand.
Absolutely.
Oh, well, look, 3 attempts. I mean, we've got 8.5 minutes left on the clock here in race 2. I mean, Smith, I know he's going to defend this for his absolute life. I don't blame him whatsoever. Do you think... would he be better off? Oh, as Burton runs a bit wide there, he won't worry too much about that. He hasn't lost much time, if any, realistically. Would Smith be better off allowing 1, maybe 2 of them through, and then launching a last lap attack? Or do you think he's better off just defending this for his life?
I think he's fast enough that he could, because he was running really good pace even against those 2 cars. So if they pass him, I don't think he's going to be too worried about it with 8 minutes to go in the race. I think he can just tuck onto the tail. What he doesn't want to do is push too hard and end up getting this slow down through Le Mans chicane, because that will really hurt. So, I don't think he'll fight too hard. I think he'll just run. If they want to come by, let them come by and just hook on the end and live to fight another day.
Oh, here comes Burton round the outside of Hewins as we look back from Smith's car right now. But I tell you what, Hewins is catching. Burton's got it pinned right around the outside as Smith goes onto the racing line. And who's going to come out on top of that battle for second? Well, I tell you what, Burton. Oh, he couldn't hold it right around the outside. Oh,
yeah, he managed to gather it back just in time. So, so he lost a little bit of time, and that may be too much. Unless they start battling up front, that may be too much to try and make up by yourself. The second and a half is a... Yep, sorry, go ahead.
No, sorry, I was just about to say that's Jackson past Torres. That's for 7th. Well, I say that. Torres in the Porsche on the left, just left of the track, right of your screen, just trying to fight back, bring it alongside into the International Show, looking for that so crucial exit off of there.
Yeah, that's Torres just making up more ground. He, he's already passed Glover, and so now he's going to try and get Jackson to get up into P7.
Tell you what, the gap between Smith and Burton had grown to 2 seconds after he ran wide into 1. But he's already managed to take, well, he's dropped to a 10th now, but it was 2 tenths originally out of Smith on about less than half a lap. So Burton really giving it absolutely everything right now, including the kitchen sink in his endeavours to catch back up onto the Smith-Hewins little micro two-car train. As Jackson could well be another vulnerable driver, as Torres lurking right behind him as they come through the Le Mans chicane, and you feel like this is just time for Jackson to lose the place to Torres.
Yeah, I think Torres is, like I said, we talked about him earlier, ran a really smart race, stay out of trouble. As you can see, he's not really too concerned about trying to make a strong move on Jackson. He knows he's got time, he knows he's got pace, and so he's just going to kind of hang out, and he'll make the move when when he feels like he's got the right line and the right gap.
Can't consider now we've got just a fraction over 5 minutes remaining in race 2. Can Smith hold on? That's the big question. To secure victory here today at Daytona, or is it going to go to Hewins? Or, well, once again, I tell you what, Burton is taking another couple of attempts out of Smith. He looks to catch back up again. Just out of slipstream range, 1.2 seconds the gap between himself and Hewins right now, but a little bit more hard work, and he'll be up onto the back of them. I mean, if Hewins wants to play, the team game here, surely he can afford to just drop back a little bit, which will allow Burton to then be in slipstream range of Hewins as we ride on board with the latter of those two names.
Yeah, well, you've kind of got a teammate in front and you kind of got a teammate behind, and so, or do we want to make this a 3-person battle? Because I think we talk about it in NASCAR is co-opetition, is cooperating and competing at the same time, and so you give and take until it's time to take more than you give, which is usually at the end of the race, which is why you normally see gigantic wrecks at the end of these NASCAR races on tracks like this.
I tell you what, he didn't have the slipstream, but look who's just set the fastest lap of the race. It is Russell Burton.
That's impressive. That's a really, really strong lap by yourself.
I'm generally sat here, almost lost for words at that lap that Burton has just plucked out there. He went a second quicker last time around than the two guys in front of him, and they were no slouches whatsoever. They did 143.8. To put it in perspective, 4th place Martins and Mercedes did a 144.2, which was pretty much a quick lap for the rest of the field.
Mm-hmm.
So for Burton to pull out a 142.8, a second quicker than Smith and Hewins,
it kind of makes me wonder if they've really kind of pushed the limits on their fueling, and so they're having to fuel save a touch here and there during the race in order to make it to the end. And so having that and knowing that, maybe Burton just had to say, okay, I've got to spend a little more fuel to get back up to the group, and then I can worry about fuel saving again once I get there. But I don't know. But yeah, but obviously 42.8 was 0.4 faster than any lap we had up until this point. So that is a super fast lap.
I'm wondering, hold on, that was the door left open for Burton, and he said thank you very much as Hewins moved up onto the racing line. Burton through, up into second, he looked down and out. We've got 2 minutes left on the clock. So we've got this lap and next, so we're on to the penultimate lap. So that's King Scott through the pit lane. I'm not seeing any damage there, Charles. Do I spy, with my little eye, something beginning with drive-through pen? No, I don't. Oh, is this pit box as well? So you have to back up and the grand shuffle is on.
I think that is somebody who needed another lap of fuel. Is what I think. I think that's what I just saw. I think maybe he just took a chance and tried to do the same thing, or maybe what some of the other people were doing and just underfueling. As we were looking at this three-way battle in the front here.
Ooh. Wow.
That was a great save by everybody. Obviously, Burton was not expecting him to brake that hard going into that corner.
Well, and that means somehow Smith has held on to the lead once again. It is close between the three of them at the top of the tables. This time it's Smith instead of previously Stopoli, he's managed to claw his way back to 11th. That's a great drive from him. That's a slowdown. Surely that's going to be a slowdown there, Charles.
Yeah,
Smith.
for sure. Yeah, I think he tried to drain it as best he could, but he eventually had to get off the racing line and let these guys go.
Burton trying to find it right around the outside. White flag in the air. 1 lap left to go here from Daytona in race 2 and of this round of the championship. And Smith, after leading every single lap, well, that is him done and dusted as Jackson into the pits. Another driver clearly short-fueled as well. But what could Burton do? Can he snatch the victory away from Hewins to prevent it being 2 wins from 2 here at Daytona International Speedway? Well, he's running out of opportunities, Charles, but his best opportunity, ironically, is coming up. Is this going to be a race to the line, or is it going to be a lunge into the Le Mans chicane?
Yeah, that's the whole thing. Wow, there's sideways coming through there. So yeah, though you get a good run here. The question is, if you take the inside here, then you have the possibility of it being returned to you down the straight. So I think he's just going to kind of hang here. He's going to make it as tight as he can. We saw in the first race he was getting really good runs through the chicane, and he did there too. Maybe kind of bound up a little bit.
I was about to say the same thing. It looked like he had to back out of it a little bit, but he's well within slipstream range, well within attack range. Here we go. The race to the line is on. We ride on board with Russell Burton. That is Spencer Hewins in front of us. He's closing. He's closing. It's 1/10. It's under a 10th. Is the line going to come too soon? He jinks left. He jinks right. He's back to the left. And Hewins gets it by 400th of a second at the line.
Wow. That was a great finish. I'm almost glad that Burton didn't pass him, because I don't know the rule for the below the yellow in these road races. I think that's a no-no in most series. But once again, still great result. It was a great race at the end, and Smith made up a second, 1.2 on the last lap to at least tighten that back up. I think he was probably hoping that Hewins and Burton maybe fought into the bus stop and give him a little better chance to claim victory there. But great racing though.
So this is the replay. Hold on. This is a replay of Fernando Torres. What a run he got through the bus stop.
Oh, too good a run to the bus stop, unfortunately. Yeah, just, kind of misjudged that closing speed there, and it got the best of him. Sad to see, too, because he had a great race going.
Oh, he did. And, well, that run, I mean, it was so good. I think Le Mans Chicane decided to, to reward him by purchasing him a one-way ticket to the wall. Oh, what a finish. 400ths of a second here at Daytona International Speedway on the Roval. Spencer Hewins, though, 2 wins from 2 races this evening. Great drive from the Canadian. Here are your classified results. As mentioned, Burton in the end has to settle for second. Smith, after leading every single lap. Lovely start out there by Spencer Hewins, doing a nice 360 across the line. Smith, after leading every single lap, well, as he came on to the final lap, white flag in the air, he lost the lead, and in the end had to settle for third. Martin's fourth. Then, that's your podium in AM. What a strong result from the AM drivers. Vinicius, 2 AM victories here today. With Baron Glover, what a redemption race for him after disappointment in race 1. On the podium in race 2 and 6 overall. There's Dragota, third and last place on the podium. With Aaron Beaver, another great run from him. He finishes in 8th. And actually, Baron Glover up 7 places. That is a great, great climb from him. Staropoli, a great recovery from him as well. He finishes in 9th overall in the end and 5th in class, oddly, due to the strong drive from the 4 AM drivers in front of him. Oliveira running out your top 10. Torres, we saw, was trying to get past Oliveira at the end, but such a great run for the bus stop meant he had a little ticket to the wall, to the barriers, purchased for him in compensation, and in the end has a set for 11th. King Scott, I think he's going to be disappointed with that one after strong running in race 1, 12th overall in race 2. Bruce Jackson, 13th. Asvel, Clist Brezhina, your last drivers to finish on the lead lap, with Delgado tying 3 laps to go, and Moran towing the car all the way back on lap 1. Well, should we have a bit of a chat to some of our drivers? First up, well, what a perfect race, you could say. 2 races, 2 wins. Only just, though, in race 2, 400ths of a second at the line. Spencer Hewins, welcome along. How much were you sweating it on that run to the line?
Well, honestly, I wasn't too worried because I knew Jeff was on 4 wing and I was on -1. But
wow.
the first race I wasn't. The first race Eric could have raced me for it 100%, but he kind of gave it to me.
I mean, even so, coming in here today, I know obviously the plan for a driver of your caliber within this league is to win all the time. But even so, to walk away from Daytona with 2 wins to your name, I don't think you really could have asked for much more than that, really, could you?
No, I did get a bit lucky though. Zane got a slow down there at the end. I think he was him and I were actually on identical setup, so that one would have been probably really close if we raced for it.
I mean, it was gutting for Zane. As we were saying just before to go through the results, led every single lap, and then till that slowdown as the white flag came out, and in the end, that's a third. Gutting for him. Spencer, before we let you go, anyone you want to give a shout out to at all?
Same as always. Thanks to the Aerokinetics guys and Daniel again, get me in a league, and shout out to you guys for doing the broadcast as always.
Yeah, great racing on tap like we have. It's always an absolute pleasure of ours. That's Spencer Hewins, your double victor here today. Charles, quite a few of them are all queuing up to have a bit of a chat with you. Who are you going to pick out as your pick of the bunch to have a chat to next?
Let's talk to Zane Smith because I want to get his side of the story.
Yeah, I think that's a good pick. Really, it's going to be interesting to see what Zane's got to say to yourself.
Hey Zane, so P3 in that second race, and was a really interesting race. You led most of it, and then it all kind of just went away the last couple of laps there.
Yeah, I did. On the last lap of the first race and the last lap of the second race, I gave myself a slowdown in the bus stop, either on the penultimate lap or the last lap. So I really made a couple huge mistakes. It cost me a couple positions, but that's all right. 1, 2, 3, 4 for Aerokinetics, so we'll take that.
Yeah, absolutely. Aerokinetics team had a really strong evening tonight. So, so Spencer said something when we were talking to him a minute ago that you guys were running a -1 wing on your cars.
That's correct. Yeah.
That's it. I'm not the greatest driver in the world, but that just sounds horrific.
The infield was, you could say that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mighty.
Yeah, it just seems like, I mean, you've taken the one, I guess, negative that the car has is which kind of that lift off oversteer, and you just amplified it by 12. But you guys have had a great race. Is there anybody you want to thank tonight?
Again, the same as last week, just Bruce and Daniel, who run Aerokinetics and get us all involved with these guys. And thank you guys for broadcasting.
Well, it's our pleasure. Congratulations. Have a good night.
You as well.
Well, I'll tell you, we've probably got just enough time to cram in the last two drivers who sat there waiting patiently to have a chat with ourselves. First up, joined by Bruce Jackson. Bruce, wow, I mean, that was eventful for yourself, wasn't it? Up and down like a yo-yo a bit throughout the standings.
Yeah, you know, and hindsight is 20/20, and I didn't have enough fuel to make the last lap, but I should have just kept going anyways and just tried to coast it at the end.
It's always a tricky conundrum, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
do you come in splash and dash and not, then you're able to go full chat? Do you just pray to the racing gods that, if you run out of fuel, it's close enough to the end that you can, roll over the line, but have a net loss of of less time than stopping in the pits? It's always a tricky one. Let's talk about something positive though. Race 2, that was a lot more. Sorry, race 1 even. Apologies. That was a lot more better for yourself.
Oh yeah, and I think I would have actually been able to give Marcos a run for his money on during race 1. I got caught up in that first lap. I think it was like turn 2 to turn 5 up in there. That little mess, and that slowed me down, and it put a big gap. So I ran both races actually with at some points without much draft. When I had draft, I would catch the guy, and I was able to pass him. I had a little trouble in one of the races. The person I was trying to pass kept moving in the braking zone, so that was a little difficult, a little trying. I thought I was going to crash, but that's the one I think that caught Delgado up, and they crashed there in turn 1. So I got a lot of breathing room there in that first race.
Definitely. Bruce, before we let you go, anyone you want to give a shout out to at all?
Oh yeah, to my team, like always, and I always forget the last, I think 3 or 4 interviews I did. I not to offend anybody, but I forgot to thank my Lord and Savior for even allowing me to race. And then a shameless plug for Aerokinetics merch. Get your merch. Come out to Aerokinetics, check out our store, and get some merch. Told Daniel I'd throw that in there.
You got to keep the sponsors happy.
That's it.
Definitely. I think as it's small hours for me, I'll let you off that shameless plug there. Definitely. That's Bruce Jackson, who had a topsy-turvy race, a decent race 1, second, and that's a good race 2. Well, I'll let you have the honours, Charles. Last interview of the evening, with Russell Burton standing by to have a bit of a chin wag with yourself, as we say in the UK.
Absolutely. Hey, Russell, what a great battle at the end of that second race. You and Spencer worked really well together to make up quite a large gap on Zane.
Yeah, me and Spencer run pretty good together. I was so lucky that I got off to the left and didn't take Zane out there, and was it turn 4. He got on the brakes just a little bit before me, but yeah, me and Zane were doing good. He's running a little bit lower wing than me, and worked together to get up front.
Well, I mean, that's.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Nope.
I said I got a slowdown on lap 1 and went back to, I don't know, 8th or 9th in the bus stop, and that kind of put me back a little ways.
Yeah, I mean, but you obviously did a great job, and yeah, he mentioned that you were the sane one of the bunch. running with some wing in the car, as opposed to him and Zane, who were running like negative wing on a Porsche. So yeah, we think you're probably the same guy of the group. So somebody's got to be that guy, right?
Yeah, I didn't have much practice at Daytona before this race. I really literally did probably 15-20 laps before I got in here, and I was running a zero wing. I just didn't like it, so I bumped it up a little bit, and turned out to be the right choice.
Yeah, it was fun to watch you guys battling, especially during the second race. Once you got together, and we did notice that little bump also, just like he maybe braked a little earlier than you were expecting.
Yeah, I got on the brakes a little bit late. I think I wasn't expecting him to come over that far right, but it's racing. We got a hold of it and kept everybody on the track, so that's the main thing. And the Air Kinetics guys do good to race together, and we have a pretty good team going here.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a great win for you guys, or a great finish for the entire team. So you have a shout out you want to give out before we get out of here?
Yeah, if you guys could go over to the Aerokinetics stream merchandise store, check out our merchandise. We got some pretty good stuff over there, different colors and high quality stuff. And I want to thank Daniel for putting this whole team together. He's done a really fantastic job with getting everybody together and getting setups and getting the guys together. I want to thank him a bunch.
Absolutely. Congratulations. Great race tonight.
Thank you.
Well, Charles, clearly Aerokinetics merch so good that they've plugged it twice there in consecutive interviews. But, well, what a race it's been here. We've time for us to wrap up the proceedings, but well, it's coming up on the channel tomorrow evening's IGP Fun F3 and SRF Warriors, SRF Weekend Warriors even. Apologies, big grids, big action, always entertaining. Is from 8 o'clock GMT tomorrow evening, and well, it's definitely been a interesting one to say the least, and what a finish to race 2. 4/10 separated, so 400ths even separated our top two. It's almost as good as a finish as a late Apex on a Monday night on Apex Racing TV. Make sure you tune in for that one, but we'll see you in a week's time when we will be heading to the land of the rising sun, to the iconic figure of 8. This, of course, Suzuka. From myself, Tim Cox, Charles Purcell and John Robson, thanks very much and good night.
Yeah.